This is Gordon Hayward. We are ready to tip it off. Are you? Let's do this.
Welcome to Tip Off today. David Locke along with you. The Jazz end their losing ways with a win over the San Antonio Spurs. Plus, we'll give you a little bit of the NBA 5. It's all coming up next on this edition of Tip Off. Pow. Hope you're well. I just took some time and rewatched the first and fourth quarters of the game, so later edition live than usual. But whenever you are listening to this, I appreciate it greatly. Hope you're well. Hope you took in last night and enjoyed that one. I have no highlight for you. I had to clear out my cache. I don't have the link right now to get my own highlights. So I was all excited for the Alec Burks give off to Derek Favors for the dunk, which was probably the key play of the game last night. Thanks so much for tuning in. Holiday packages are available for you for some great gifts if you want to go to utahjazz.com/holidays to grab that. Congratulations to the Tour of Utah yesterday, who made the announcements of their next big ventures and adding Logan and into Soldier Hollow and some new host venues for the Tour of Utah. So congratulations to all involved there. That's such a great event. Queen Stage will still be the classic same thing it is. As we talk right now, there is a report out from Real GM that the Jazz are going to sign Patrick Christopher, who is a 26-year-old 6'5" shooting guard, small forward, who went undrafted out of Cal. He was two-time first-team Pac-12 guy. He's been in some various camps along the way. This is just the Dave Fredman, Dennis Lindsey, Justin Zanuck scouting level. I mean, this is just they're always looking. He was in summer league with the Pistons back as 2010. Played in Turkey. Might have been on Rudy Gobert's French team in 2011. Because I think that's who in France. I have to check that, but I think that's right. Then he played with the Bulls, was waived before the season started, played Iowa Energy, then signed with Memphis, however, waived before the season started. So, that's basically the makeup on him. He played at Cal and was a pretty good defensive player, physical player, and I don't know a lot about him. I haven't looked at his Iowa Energy stats, but I would guess the story is, whether or not he's developed the ability to shoot a little bit. So I don't know much about him though. And he's the fifth guy. He scored. I know he scored. I looked at his D League stuff to see that he scored like 47 in a D League game. So I don't know what that does for you, but there you can jump onto that a little bit. All right, let's do the NBA 5, and then let's dig into the Utah Jazz performance last night.
This is Rudy Gobert, and you are locked on Jazz.
Some really interesting games last night. Cleveland's come from behind win against Toronto is important. Toronto controlled that game the whole night, and then late, maybe because they didn't have DeMar DeRozan, they just couldn't score. But what that really says is that Cleveland played enough defense that they couldn't score. LeBron was enormous, had 35. Dion Waiters gave them a second straight decent game. And they actually, the Matt Dellavedova return for Cleveland may be helping them a little bit more than anyone realized. But frankly, it may come back to not having, not having DeMar DeRozan is hurting Toronto enough that that's what happened. But Cleveland, the book on them early was they weren't defending. They are actually defending at this point. Dallas went into Memphis last night. And Memphis had just had their home winning streak snapped by San Antonio. I think it was probably important for them to go jump on this one. What an incredible first quarter that game was, 37-34 Mavericks. And Memphis moves into number one in the league offensively after exploding for 36 in the third quarter. And Marc Gasol does it again, 30 points last night, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's truly having a bona fide MVP caliber season along the way. And then the other one is just, I think it's important at this point. There's two other games last night that jumped out. Oklahoma City just, they can't blink, and they haven't yet. They beat Milwaukee last night, 114-101. Every day, this is, if you remember when we played them, they didn't play another playoff team for 2 weeks. So these are their kind of get-ready games, and while they're not quite right, they have to be able to get going, and they did it last night with an easy win. That's going to be the key for the Thunder, trying to catch Phoenix. And Phoenix had a 2-game loss. Their overtime loss to the Clippers, back end of a back-to-back, then played Miami and lost last night. That's truly a 2-game loss. Is that Clipper game cost them 2? So lots of games in the West is going to start playing the West pretty soon. It's going to get pretty interesting. And by the way, Oklahoma City's only down 2 in the loss column to Phoenix. They're coming. It's going to be. We have not had very many years in which all 8 playoff teams repeat. In fact, in the Western Conference, it's almost never happened. But the top of the West is just incredible right now. Golden State's won 13 straight. Portland's won 5 straight. Houston's won 4 straight. The Clippers have won 8 straight. And Memphis is 17-4. They've won 17 of 21. And this season is just amazing. It's just great. Every night seems to have 2 or 3 that you look at and say, oh, I got to watch that. And I got to see what happens with that. I think there's an interesting one tonight in the East, Washington to Orlando, and how much confidence does Orlando gain on that road trip where they played well? Does Orlando go win a home game against Washington? That's what a playoff team would do. Are they able to do that? Houston Golden State's obviously interesting unless Bogut doesn't play tonight. And then Miami is playing back-to-back in Denver after winning in Houston. Then they come to play us on Friday. So this is, if you want to get a chance to see Miami. That is your NBA 5.
Hi, Jazz Nation. This is Derek Favors. Thanks for being the best fans in the NBA.
What a fun one last night, huh? What a fun one last night for the Utah Jazz to pull off against the San Antonio Spurs. So many different angles to it, so many different pieces to it. I just rewatched the first part of the second and the fourth. Here were my major takeaways. One, continual effort from the Jazz. And it's interesting to me, the Spurs were pretty lackadaisical early, pretty soft, and the Jazz took it to them, got their stuff in, and then kind of maintained that momentum to go. Mike Malone the other day before the game in Sacramento was saying, if you don't hit guys early in this league, if you don't make yourself felt early, you can't make yourself be felt later. Now, that is probably true with less good teams like Sacramento and Utah, but in the case of the Spurs last night, that was the case also. The Jazz got into their flow early. I'll show you some of the offensive plays. They were very comfortable early in this game, and never did it never did they get uncomfortable, frankly. There were a few moments and big plays. The steal by Hayward at 4:53 left in the fourth quarter after back-to-back turnovers with the world unraveling is just a huge, big-time play. It's exactly what the Jazz needed. That's the game-winning play. The drive by Trey Burke handing to Derek Favors late, we'll look at it, was, that's a beautiful play, and it's actually what jumped out at me more than the defensive effort last night. The defensive numbers were really good, was how without any impediments from the Spurs, how sharp the Jazz offense is becoming. And it hasn't, you can kind of see what Quinn's been working on coming along offensively, which, is equally, frankly, we want the better defense, but it's equally important on that. Let me jump on a few different things last night that I thought I saw. And hey, wins are nice. Wins are a lot more fun than losses, but I'm still going to kind of stay with the little victory theme of things that we're looking for as this team. It's a big picture, long process team right now. And hey, it's really cool that if you're a Jazz season ticket holder, when we watch the NBA Finals this year between the Spurs and the Cavaliers, you've beat both the teams, right? You've beat both those teams. You saw wins over both those teams. That's cool. But I'm still going big, long process here of what I'm watching. One, Favors last night to me, his fight, that's a tough game. That's hard. There's nothing easy inside. You're not getting anything off Duncan that's not just work. And he didn't start well and fought through the night and stayed with it. And to me, that's a huge step. Gordon's willingness to take the burden late. It's big. These are big developments. Is Gordon a superstar? I don't think so. Is he really, really good? Yeah. But is he a bona fide superstar? No. That wins you playoff games? Maybe he'll prove me wrong on this, but I don't think so. But I do think he's showing a willingness to accept the burden of leadership and make big plays. Some nights he's going to miss. Some nights he's going to make. But the fact he's willing to take that step back on the right wing, even if it doesn't go in, is a big deal. I thought that was, good. The narrative around Enes Kanter on talk radio and on Twitter and of fans is how terrible he is defensively, how poor he is in this squad. The narrative inside the team is what an effort he is making and how much he has improved recently and how much better his defensive recognition into playing defense in a system is and how much progress he's making. So don't be too far behind the curve on this one. Be a little careful how far out you want to go if you want to keep to that other narrative just because it's fun and friendly to you. And maybe Ennis, he's still 22 years old and very, very young and played less than 5,000 career minutes, which is really very, very few. I mean, he played less than basically 1,000 minutes in each of his first 2 years. But it's not surprising, by the way, that since Thanksgiving, Ennis is 32 minutes, and 18 in there, 30, 33, 27, 31, 30. He's earned himself a good deal more time. There were some 19s and 17s and 12s in there prior to that. In fact, he's gone over 30 once prior to this stretch where he's now gone over 36 of the last 8 games. Well, why would that be? Because he is making progress internally. The narrative is changing on him, and he is playing much better basketball all around the floor. Offensively, that quick post up early in the game the other night on Matt Bonner, it's a big play. To have someone that you can run an early offense to in the post and get something, that's important, and he can do that on the right guys. And obviously his mid-range game is vastly improved this year, and now he's beginning to show some defensive strides. And his rebounding was mammoth last night. He had 15 for the 3rd time this year. So he's pretty consistent offensively. He's double figures, I think, in 13 of the last 15. So just be aware that narrative is switching. Loved the drives to the hoop by Rodney Hood. Loved the game by Rodney Hood. You can see little growth out of him each and every time as he gets healthy, as he believes in his foot, and driving the basket, exploding. And the play where he got fouled and went to the basket and tried to pack it, I didn't know he could do that. That was terrific. So lots of things last night. Everybody played well. The key to the game to me is the second quarter, in which the Jazz don't fall apart. The bench unit now with Alec did what we've been hoping he could do for the first time all year. He kind of carried the load offensively in that second quarter for the team. The Jazz, Hayward's now playing the entire first with Alec coming back in the second. The first 2 substitutions are Booker and Hood. And we'll see how this evolves. I mean, they're just trying to fiddle and try to see things. And some of that's Rudy Gobert's defense. Gobert land is a mean and nasty place under the paint. Mommy and Daddy said not to go in there late at night because bad things can happen. And Rudy is getting the job done. And maybe Rudy's defense with that second unit can be such a factor that the Jazz can survive offensively. But Alec really did what you needed last night out of him. Got 6 points in that second quarter, 3 of 4 shooting, and that early portion of that quarter is what the Jazz have to begin to get. Gobert played the first 6-13, and the Jazz were +6. That's usually where things have been falling apart. So, and a good win. You got to get, as much as the little victories are important, you've got to get some moments in time where you get wins and you feel good about it. Let me check the questions. I've got some video I want to watch, but the video is so hard on people that are audio only that I might take the questions first if we've got any questions today as of right now. Oh, we do. All right, so let me grab some of these questions and then we'll go watch the audio pieces here in just a second. Rick Carlisle's been able to get more out of players than any other coach. You mentioned the way he uses Tyson Wright, but from watching Monte and Vince, what does he do to make players better in a system, or is he just having Dirk help so much? No, Rick Carlisle, I think, is the best coach in the NBA. I mean, Popovich obviously is, but it's pretty brilliant offensively. Their spacing is good. Their flow and their read, and they do it with veteran players because they all know how to understand and read. The ability to change a lot of players and still have the system work the next year is very impressive. I do think that's how they use Tyson and Wright is something the Jazz need to look at for Gobert and see if they can emulate some of that. But yeah, you've got a huge gravity player in Dirk Nowitzki who brings a lot of attention to him. You got Monte who's able to break down the defense, but there's something to be watched on how they use the open floor, they use the early offense. Zach Lowe wrote a really nice piece about it with Tyson and Wright. It's very, very well done. It's a good observation on your part. Steve Elsey, with it being Christmas season, if Ingles makes any good plays, are you going to make some sort of statement that includes jingles all the way? Knowing me, probably, though I had a joke with Joe that every announcer he's ever had has done that, and I was going to try to be the one who doesn't. But probably too good not to. Michael Perry, I heard that the league told the doc he can't bring any props to the games to distract players during free throws because LeBron got made mad at his umbrella twirling. Thoughts? Do you see fans bringing props in other arenas? I do not see fans bringing props to other arenas. I don't know if it was because of LeBron. I saw the KUTV story. I love Doc, so but I mean, probably true that probably fans shouldn't bring props. I mean, frankly, if you have fans bringing props, you're probably blocking the view of other. Doc's very cognizant of not trying to impact other fans around him. But would every fan be that good? I mean, there's probably a reason you don't have props, right? Both safety, other fans around you. So I would guess that. I would guess that that's probably a legitimate rule by the NBA. It seems really, like, oh, that sucks. They did that to Doc. Oh, wait, but that kind of seems like reasonable, doesn't it? Tom Green, 2-0 on Tuesdays. Look out, Pelicans. Is that where we are? I haven't even looked at this road trip. Yeah, we are. Do we have another two? And then Minnesota. We could go, we could be 4-0 on Tuesdays. Anything you saw different last night or in practice that finally made the second unit contribute in a meaningful way? Let's make sure it's more than one night. I think it's interesting is I was communicating with Quinn after the Kings game, and he was very positive. He thought the Kings game was a real change. He thought things were better after the Kings game, and the way the team played and the energy and the effort that they had in that game, and the force they played with. So he saw something as the head coach that was much better in Sacramento than carried over the next night. So, there's a lot to it. All right, this is interesting. I went and rewatched I was actually trying to find good defense, and I was actually trying to find some Cantor defensive plays, and instead I ended up seeing, because it's so much easier to watch, I ended up seeing on offense a bunch of offensive plays that showed me, one, that the Spurs didn't put up a lot of resistance, frankly, but two, that showed me how much progress the Jazz are making offensively right now. And so I want to show you some of those. I do have one defensive play I thought was particularly good. But let's go watch a few of these plays, and we'll probably mute Matt and Craig, who had a really, tip of the hat to our broadcast crew. They really just do tremendous, tremendous work. All right, so you are getting this, it looks like. And I'll try to walk us through it. It's the little screen. I apologize for that. Fire. I just tried to widen it out for you a little bit. All right, so this is going to be this is Cantor is going to get a wide open look. I don't know if he actually even makes this shot. I think he does, but it's just a good sign of the off. So it's an early action. Actually, I'll let you see the whole play, and then we'll back it up to watch it again. Pick and roll at the top, drag out, Cantor hands back to Hayward, and pops out to the right side. It's really good action. So there's a few things in here to watch, and we'll now go back and watch it. Now you've seen it once. Now, how does this happen? There's a few good things that are watched. First, you begin to see a relationship between Favors and Cantor. The one guy, this is a roll and replace team. So if one guy rolls, the other guy's got to replace. And the second thing is a lot of movement on each side of the floor to create a kind of open side of the floor. And so the Jazz are able to do this here. So they start on the left side of the floor, and nothing tricky here. So here's the first action. So Cantor's down, Favors is here, Trey's going to run the pick, Alec is spaced, Gordon is spaced, very basic. And as you watch, off the pick, Derek's going to roll, Ennis replaces. Derek rolls, Ennis replaces. Now, what this has done is suddenly there's three guys on the left side of the floor. There's only two guys on the right side of the floor, so you can create a two-man game on the right side of the floor with it very difficult to bring help. And there's the dribble handoff, and it's a little bit different than a dribble handoff. It's a dribble flip. Bonner now has to step in to take care of Hayward. Look at how good a job Trey has done to space back out over here. Alec does a nice job of staying spaced, and Favors is available in the dunker. So now if Gordon can turn the corner, he's going to make Duncan make a read, and if they slide over, then Alex should be open for a corner 3. If Green steps in too far, Burke gets a little toss out to the wing. But instead, Bonner's going to step over, and Ennis does a really nice job of popping out for a jump shot on this open side of the floor. That's just really good, basic offense, but that was worked well with timing and at a level that I'm not sure we've necessarily seen from these guys this year. And I thought that was, that's kind of what I'm looking for when I watch. And these are the little victories, right? That's timing, that's well played. And if you do watch that closely, it is fair to say that the Spurs did not put up much of any resistance on that. And so I think, that's somewhat of a fair. All right, let's watch this one. This is going to be a missed 3 by Alec. But again, it's the same thing. Similar action early. The amount of action is what jumped out to me here. You see a lot of movement. You're beginning to see Quinn's offense take hold. Some penetration. Gorgeous pass by Derek. So let's walk through this one. That's just great basketball. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean it's not great basketball. But so on this one, start the ball on the right side of the floor. Spurs get set defensively. Swing the ball, a little down screen over here. Interchange is what they call it, as Hayward and Alex set. Cantor's working the post on Bonner if they want an early touch. We're perimeter focused. Favors after the pass. That's a nice pick to clear Alec. You're going to make these guys work, right? And so there's the first pick on Green. Now watch Derek flip, get it here. Then Alec goes and sets a pick for Trey. I mean, there's just a lot of action here. Well done right there. Trey comes to get it. Spurs defend this fairly well. Now Trey comes off the pick. Hayward space to the corner. Cantor's got to slide down a little bit more to bring Bonner lower so that in what they call the dunker. Alec needs to step back out to the three-point line. They do that. Trey penetrates, brings 3 guys to him. Derek times his roll perfectly. Green's got to come in and help off Favors. Bonner's still got to stay attached to Derek. And Gordon's here. I mean, this is a nice work by Trey. This is really good basketball right here. Pass goes to Derek. Green comes down. 4 guys in the paint. Nice defense by the Spurs. And Alec is sitting, waiting, and beautiful I mean, that's such a great pass by Derek Favors right there. Such a great pass by Faves. Alec, frankly, has got to make that shot, but fine. He didn't. This is kind of where I'm looking at things that you've got to, these are some of the little victories, the execution, the things of that nature. I do see that some other questions have come in. I will get to those in a minute. Here's another one where I think we miss, but again, it just jumped out at me. There's 2 things here. The Spurs are playing, and the Spurs do play pretty soft, actually. They don't foul. They generally don't force a lot of turnovers. Went by. So this one I think is a Favors miss. Well, again, I like the way we're doing this. I'll let you watch it the first time, and then we'll break it down for you. Alec, top again, look at the amount of action. Look at the amount of action and movement. The gaggle pick over there on the side. High pick and roll comes into it. Derek wide open in the middle lane. How good is that? I mean, it's just great basketball. Derek misses it. Now let's go walk through it because there's just so much action taking place, and this is Quinn's offense really beginning to kick in. Okay, so again, it's the start. We work to the outside. There's a double stagger coming so that Alec can come pick on. Ginobili's going to get hit once by Trey here and once by Ennis. Boom, boom. He's got to go under. Alec gets the basketball. Now Derek starts to work his way up. Gets it at the elbow. Hayward spaces to the wing. Alec's going to come off a pick from over here. Now this is what they call a gaggle. They set up on the far side. They double it up. A lot of stuff going on here, right? So Ginobili's trying. Boris Diaw's got Cantor. Burke's coming off. Trey's in, Alex in there somewhere. Ginobili's trying to figure out where to get. Trey comes up top. Now it's a high pick and roll. There's just been a lot to guard here. The Spurs have dealt with it really well. Cantor, again, probably, I think, at least has to slide down time, and Alex got a space back up, I think. Different plays are different a little bit. But here's the pick and roll. And now Duncan's got to slide over. Hayward's getting a lot of attention. Notice that every time we do this, Hayward's on the strong side. No one's leaving Gordon anymore. Leonard's tight on him. Trey comes in, brings the defender to him. Nice timing by Trey. Beautiful. Look at how open Favors is, and again, if Alex up a little higher, then maybe Ginobili slides in, you kick out to that 3, but instead, there's Derek catch and ready, good mid-range jump shot, and at some point here, look at how open Cantor is. That's Cantor got down to that area I said he had to get down to, and that's a pretty neat spot, and it's really pretty well spaced. Everything's there. That's a good look right there. That's got to go in. Well, it doesn't, but that's good basketball. And you can see the Jazz kind of beginning to make these plays. Here's a fourth one from the first quarter. I mean, you're gonna get so tired of me saying this, but it's the little victories, and this is the progress. This is where when you're not getting wins, and you suddenly saying to yourself, "Wow!" But how do you say they're making progress? Well, this is how, because this execution is better offensively, which frankly helps the defense a great deal as well. So again, I'll let you watch it through. So a lot of similar stuff, a lot of action, a lot of movement. This is going to end up with a Gordon Hayward play. Nice set by Rodney off of Derek. Bring it back. Boom. That's just a big, and this is that's just a big time play. But there's a lot of relationship stuff going on that you're beginning to see in the progress here. And it's a mid-range jumper, so the Spurs aren't totally hated, but Houston's using 73% of their possessions outside the mid-range. The league average is 59% of possessions are taking place in the restricted area or outside 3. Okay, well, what that really means, though, is that 41% of your possessions are still in the mid-range. As much as we can decide that mid-range doesn't matter, or you don't want it, you're still using 40% of your possessions there. So let's walk through this one. Gordon calls for the pick from Rodney. Rodney comes down to get it. They don't switch it. Sometimes teams will switch that. Immediately after Booker makes the pass, he goes and sets for Trey. It's minor stuff, but that just means there's a lot of action. Look, the minute Hood passes to Trey, Favors is coming and setting a pick for him. It's very soft. And then Hood, and he could have gone backdoor hard off, it wasn't there. So instead he comes up and sets a pick on Leonard for Hayward. They're going to go back off the elbow. Notice how much of this is off the elbow with Derek. Everything we're talking about is here off the elbow with Derek. So they go to elbow with Derek. Trey immediately goes off the backside of Booker off action. And here's the key to this whole thing. There's the pick. Now watch Derek here. Derek sets this is very Spurs-esque. This is very Duncan-esque, frankly. So Hayward comes around it. He fakes it just enough to be real. And what does Derek do? He just spins on that right foot, resets the pick. Hayward now can attack. Rodney should slide down, by the way, because Rodney's brought Ginobili into the play a little bit. It's a pretty small shooting window. Favors is going to roll. Duncan's got to figure out what he's going to do. Boris Diaw's coming over. If Booker's slashed down, then Trey probably been wide open for 3. Instead of Hayward, pops right there, nails it. And actually, if you watch that again, let's watch Booker. Booker does come down on the far side, and you can see we're on another play later. You were on the same play later in the game, and whoops, I missed hitting the button. Run the same play later in the game. Look at the little flip pick. Okay, and with a little different timing on it, Trey's wide open over here, right? And if Hood's got to slide down time, it's just, okay, you get a little bit better on these things, but you can see where the spacing and the offense is really developing with this team. Fourth quarter, I thought I found one play that I was going to bring up. Let's see if I can find it. About 4:24 in the fourth. Boris misses 3. A little bit of this is this, hey, actually, I thought this was a great play because this is the Jazz playing perfect defense, or as good defense as you can play. The Spurs playing perfect offense, and they missed the shot. It's a make or miss league. Frankly, this place is kind of it's a pretty big one. It's a 7-point game with 4:50 left. It's right after Hayward's steal that puts the Jazz back up by 7. He buries this. Actually, I think this is a huge momentum play in the game. It's a 7-point game after the Hayward dunk, and if Diaw makes this shot, it's back down to 4. Again, I'll let you run through it here. Some of this action the Spurs are running will look similar. The Jazz do a really good job of dealing with this. They shadow the pick and roll. They match up on their guys. They close. Leonard penetrates. Cantor comes. Ingles closes. And they make one extra pass and get a wide open corner three, and they miss it. Okay, and it probably wins us the game. But so what I'm showing you here is a little bit of great offense and great defense. So let's watch this one. And this also, not having Tony Parker, let's not underestimate this. I don't think Corey Joseph had an assist last night. These are huge plays. So here they run off the elbow, similar action, double stagger from Manu on the backside. Joe comes through it. Here's the pick from Duncan, and they've decided on this day they want to keep the ball down. They're going to let Duncan have that mid-range jumper if they have to. Favors is doing Canada does a nice job here of making Ginobili see another body. Trey is sliding over. The scouting report was we can leave Joseph. He's a poor three-point shooter. So there it is. Favors stepped out really well. Cantor showed enough of himself there, so Ginobili didn't think he'd turn the corner and get anywhere. Trey is over far enough just to impact, and the pass comes back up to Leonard, and they quickly swing to Joseph. Now, this is Parker. You're dead to rights. That's where this game's a little different. So Joseph now penetrates. Look at what Duncan's doing to Favors. Favors is supposed to be the weak side help, and look at what Duncan does here to screen Favors. This is the little things that just makes Duncan great. This is where I say that game was a hard game for Favors the whole game. Look at that. That's awesome. That's beautiful. Well, Cantor's pretty far away on the corner three, and Ennis recognizes this early, gets over, alters the shot. Parker probably makes some better recognition of this. Ingles has got a tough job right here. He's got to kind of shadow both of these. Hayward's still dealing with Leonard. And the pass, because Cantor comes over, and Cantor comes over really well. Watch again this on Ennis. Sometimes with Ennis, as he's learning to develop, you don't know how much he absolutely does this on purpose. But the way Ennis comes over, he takes away the pass to Diaw. Watch, here's Ennis. See how he stayed on the inside? Sometimes guys will go to the outside. Let me see if I can pause it. See how Ennis has taken away the passing lane here to Boris Diaw. Joseph, probably not with the experience that a Parker has. Parker might have known early, I'm in trouble, I'm going to make that pass to the corner, so he takes a step. But Ennis does a nice job here of taking that away. So the pass goes up to Ginobili. Ingles now retracts. Manu, that's just incredible. Look at that. He's already passed the basketball, and they get a wide open look. But they miss it. The other thing at 5 on the shot clock, the Jazz play 20 seconds of good defense, and then to Cantor's credit, Cantor and Favors boxing out Duncan to finish the play. I love that play. It has everything in it. It shows you why the Spurs are great. There's a lot to it. And let's look at one final one. This is the offensive play of the game by the Jazz. And again, to kind of little different setup. But what we've been talking about, spacing and understanding how to make plays and do things, you'll see it here. It's the Alec Burks pass to Derek Favors.
A big move, Danny Green.
And up by 7 with 2:43 left. This really clinches it. And this is interesting. Quinn spreads the floor to get everybody set, but unlike earlier this year when they then waited till 7 on the clock, he wants them to go a little early. If you watch Quinn over here, he's like, let's go. So it's the pick, hand off to Cantor. Cantor handles himself well here, dribbles out. Alec penetrates a flop and a beautiful recognition. And there's some keys to this. It's very basic basketball, but this is a 5-man group beginning to understand how to play together. So let's walk through it. This is where Cantor in that corner is important, and I'll show you why. So Duncan's guarding Cantor. So it's important that Cantor goes all the way out here to get the best offensive player out. And Diaw's on Favors. It's an interesting match. I'm not sure why the Spurs start the possession that way. Trey goes to this corner, and Alex stays up top. This is well spaced. Here comes the pick at the top, and now Duncan's going to slide off. And this is also where if Cantor can ever become a good corner 3 shooter, it becomes pretty important. And it's early action. You're not going to be able to get that open side. Some people will run. One thing you'll see teams do is that corner guy, Cantor, will now run baseline. Trey would shoot up, and Alec would shoot to the top. But if Gordon can't turn the corner, as it turns out in this case, your play's dead. So he turns. Diaw handles it well. Nice play by Duncan. Look how far over Green is. And Duncan's angle here is vital. It's such good defense. This is where experience doesn't matter. Oh my gosh, it does. Because if Duncan is more open with that left leg, then Hayward can get to the baseline and make the pass to Trey for the corner three. But because Duncan does that, Gordon has nowhere to go, so he has to give it up in the corner. This play is pretty well dead right now. There's 7 on the shot clock, and Enes Kanter has the ball in the right corner, and this play is dead. Trey's open. There's no way to make that pass. So what happens? This is pretty smart basketball by Enes. This is calm, good reaction with 6 on the shot clock. So he brings it up, and here's the key to the play. Look at how everybody's spaced. Gordon brought it all the way back out, and Duncan's here because he had Kanter. Trey slides up nicely as he's supposed to. Hayward comes all the way to this near corner, and they interchange here. When Hayward went through, because they're late on the shot clock and they're an experienced team, and some teams will play. I know Quinn's mentioned this to our guys, but I don't think they're ready for it yet. Hey, final 5 seconds of shot clock, we switch everything. So they switch. Kawhi Leonard is now actually guarding Derek Favors. Boris Diaw is out on Gordon Hayward, and Diaw blows this. Diaw's got to be into the legs of Derek Favors. So when Alec penetrates, Leonard steps over. Here's the difference having a 6'7" Leonard and a 7-footer in the middle, right? And Kanter does a nice job coming down. Again, Duncan's defense is just awesome. There's no passing lane there, right? Like this play could actually be back for Enes on a pop, but Duncan's space is just perfect so that he can't get the ball there. Alec comes in the lane, Leonard steps over, and Diaw is got to be in deeper on Favors. They actually make a mistake here. Beautiful pass by Alec on the read. And I would argue that Leonard makes a defense mistake. He puts his hands up to protect for the charge instead of having his hands wide, which opened up the passing lane. These are the little things. Those are the little things that make the difference. Derek catches, and boom, slam dunk. So anyway, there's our film study for the day. Let me quickly grab some final questions, which will probably get lost in this one. What was the big difference in the second quarter last night and enabled the Jazz to keep the game where they've been struggling so much? Alec made some plays. Defensively, they were a little bit better. Manu Ginobili was terrible. He was, over 9 in the first half. Seems when the Jazz get into an offense early, push up the floor, they are more successful. What prevents them from pushing more? Is there a read they're making? Discomfort learning the system or something else? One, you got to run. Everyone's got to run. Running's hard. 2, Trey played for a very slow college team, so he's not as used to it, but frankly, we're faster with Trey than we are with Dante. I think that's a time and comfort, and then we're pretty willing to get into that open flow passing game that I've showed you there rather than trying to break the paint with individual play. We're trying to play team basketball. It's my guy, Jonathan Thatcher. He was the focus of the show yesterday. Dwight Howard's a rim protector, yet he's only 6'9" without shoes, 7'4" wingspan. You really think quarter inch height and a half inch less wingspan with Favors makes the dramatic difference as a rim protector? It clearly does because of the impact of their careers. You're relentless, man. At some point the numbers tell the story here. Some of it can be athletic jump, some of it can be quick reaction, some of it can be, but there's no, Derek's best physical comp is he's close to but not quite Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard has been a dramatic rim protector with his springiness for his entire career. Derek has yet to show that. Maybe Derek develops it later on in his career. But I think Derek's brilliance as a defensive player is going to be read, react, athleticism, area coverage, but not rim protection. There's no track record that shows rim protection at this point. All right, that is tip-off. Hope you have a great one. Get your holiday packs at utahjazz.com/holiday. Tip of the hat to our Jazz TV crew as I watched the game today. They do a fantastic job. Have a good one.